Welcome back to another Pristine Productions here. Be sure to look me up on YouTube here and Pristine Productions. If you want me to mix and master your tracks for you, you can hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And you can also enter in my subscribers mix and master contest plugin prize giveaway. Just click on this button and you can submit your best mix songs with the vocals. And when we hit 100 subscribers, we're currently at 72, I'm going to be naming the winner, which will get a Slate Digital VMR pack. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. And here it is, fully activated. So be sure to hit me up on Pristine Production. And if you want me to do nice designs like what you see here, link up with me. So today we're going to jump into mixing some reggae music here. We're going to be talking about mixing reggae featuring Jah Cure, Jamaican reggae artist, international artist. And we're going to be talking about get your mix sounding like the pros. Now, I have Jah Cure's stems here, and I did a couple of processes here with my plugins. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks why the key is using analog plugs to replicate the analog gear so we can get our music sounding like these big artists, because they use these analog stuff in their studio, but you can recapture and get that warmth. You can get your mix close to that. You can get professional by using these plugins. So mixing with analog plugs to get the professional sound. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn off my inserts here. As we go through each of them here, and I'm gonna play Jah Cure's stems the way it came. Let's turn off the inserts, turn off the bass. Let's see what else I have here. Reverb, bass DIs, H delay, guitar stomp box. And I'm going to turn off BX Digital and turn off the sibilance here. I'm going to leave the sends. So let's play the track here.
Again, brother, I love how you did it, yeah. I say positive vibrations in the air. I hope you feel me, brother. I hope you feel me, sisters. Oh,
Five.
the neighbors in true. Hey, I keep it cool, yeah. Real reggae music, how I will say. I say 1, 2, Rasta is passing through. Hey, till tomorrow, yeah. Real reggae music.
So I'm in the comparison, I hear a little bit more low end on Maroon's 5 album. So let's jump right into it, right? So we got some brass section, we got some drums, we got some electric piano here, we got some pianos. So let's get right into it. So first thing is first, right? We're looking at some horn sections here. Now, if I didn't tell you it was like some hit sections, I'm sorry, hit sections, I mean not horn. You're not even hearing that. So you want to make sure you're hearing your elements in the song. Let's see what we got here. So let's get into it, right? So first thing is first, right? So let's start off with the drums here. So I have Jah Cure's drums coming right out of one drum sub here, and I'm listening to this drum here, and what I'm hearing, it needs a little bit more weight. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna do a parallel compression here. I'm going to open another bus track. I'm going to engage the SSL compressor. I'm going to put the PuTech. The reason why I'm putting on the PuTech, because when signal pass through this PuTech here, it already is going to sound fat, right? So that's the reason why I want to use analog plugins, so you can capture that analog warmth. So if I go ahead and unmute the channel here, I'm only pushing the parallel compression about a little bit below negative 12 dB. So I'm gonna unmute the channel here. That's what the pew tech is doing. Off, on. It's adding weight. And here I have a compressor. Squash it a little bit more here. So I know this drum was tracked using gears, so we're not remixing the track. We're just showing you how we can use analog stuff to get your music to more sound like Maroon 5. So by the way, I have this entire track passing through the T-Rox bus compressor here. A ratio about 1.5. Attack is catching a little bit of 10. Threshold is about compressing a little bit over 1 dB. That's about enough for me. So let's talk about this hit here, which I'm not hearing. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put my SSL channel chip. Get a little bit of saturation here. And then I'm going to use the NLS. I'm going to push up the drive here. And already you can see what this analog plugins are doing to the signal here. We can turn on mic. And it really adds some depth to it. So I want subtle differences here. I'm cranking it to about 8.6. Here's a clavinet here. So I'm going to turn on SSL channel strip. I'm just using channel strip to get a little bit of analog saturation. You'll see I would say 100% of my mixes now I use SSL channel strip. I like the high end on the analog sound rather than digital clean EQs. So here I have an electric piano here. So what I added to put that in a space, I added the reverb. I'm going to turn that back on with a little bit of EQ here. And I add some stereo imager on. Let's put it before the reverb here. So I can put the electric piano in a bigger space. I'm going to turn on SSL so I can hear it a little bit better. You might say, Ray, if you want to hear it, why don't turn up the volume? I will get a little bit louder, but it won't be present. It's the analog texture and saturation and color is giving it a little bit more step forward. So I want to use saturation more to bring it up front than just raising the volume. So that's what I'm doing with SSL there. I'm going to use a little bit of L2 just to control that. When I mix, I like to make sure I hear all the elements in there, you know, even if they're subtle, I can hear it present. Here's a guitar here. Doesn't really sound special, so I'm going to add an NLS here. I'm pushing the drive to about 8.7. I'm going to add an SSL here. Doing a little bit of high pass, about 65. And I'm also sending that guitar to a GTR. I'm going to turn that on now so you can hear what the guitar is doing. unmute it. So I have before, after. So I'm creating space around that piano there, you know. Even though I'm not boosting any frequency here, I'm just adding saturation here alone, because these things were tracked very well. If I bring the hits in with the drums, now I can hear that hit. So parallel compression already cutting those drums through. Let's get to this guitar here. Right now I'm sending it through the reverb on a little bit of delay here. I'm going to turn on that delay. And I'm going to turn on SSL channel here, which I'm pushing the guitar a little bit more present here. A little bit of compression here. The compression from the SSL channel strip, which is about 1 dB, I'm pushing the signal up when I compress it. So the more I turn the threshold down, the more the signal gets louder. I'm creating a little bit more bite and chop on the guitar. I'm going to go to the piano here. I'm going to do the same thing. Channel strip. You can hear the mixes are slowly evolving and getting better. Let's just see what's going on with this guitar pick track here. Bring it back. So that's what I'm doing there. Now I'm going to get to the bass real quick, which I did some quite a little process there. I wanted the bass to get fatter than how it is, so I'm going to play it how it is now. Bring it back. Notice the guitar picking is going hand in hand with the bass here, like one instrument here. So I needed more weight. So what I went ahead and did, typical, do a little parallel compression here. I opened up the bus channel here, and before I go ahead and do that, I'm gonna open up my Slate Digital, which I'm gonna give away once I hit 100 subscribers. This is what I'm doing with the bass here. I am doing some compression here, and I'm boosting a little bit at about 60 kilohertz here, and adding a little bit of saturation with the virtual mix bus. I'm going to turn these all on so you can hear what the bass is doing. Since this is reggae music here, I want some more low end at about 50, so I'm going to put the R bass on to get a little bit more weight on it. Let's play with the drums. Another EQ here. I'm going to turn this on. I'm dipping out a little bit of 451 to balance off, smooth out the bass a little bit low passing a little bit of, let's say about 50 here, just to keep the bass tight. Now here comes the next part. I'm gonna send the bass. I'm gonna create a bus channel here. You might see this on YouTube a lot. I'm creating a bass DI track, which is comprising of a guitar amp simulator and some EQ and a compressor here. I'm gonna turn it on. You're gonna hear that bass get big and round. On. Let's turn on the inserts. So we went from bass not present to getting a little bit more bottom end. And then I'm gonna move on to the background vocals, which I did a little bit of sending to the waves doubler here. And I'm using a little bit of SSL here just to get a little bit more volume, a little bit more analog. Turn the SSL on, the background vocals get a little bit more present, a little bit more fatter, you know. I'm gonna move into the strings here. Let's move the strings in. SSL, a little bit of L2. Let's bring in the hits. That leaves the organ, which I'm adding an NLS bus here, boosting a little bit of 500 to get a little bit more bite, a little bit more bite out of the organ. Which brings us to Jah Cure's lead here, which I'm adding just the SSL channel strip. I have my EQs and compressors in one. And I'm getting some volume with it, so I'm gonna turn it on. Hope you feel me, brother. I hope you feel me, sister. I say 1, 2, Rasta is passing through. Off. I keep it cool, yeah. Real reggae music, how I will say. I say 1, 2, Rasta is passing through. Hey, I keep it cool. Watch when I turn off SSL. Real reggae music. Vocal gets quiet. I have a duty, just to create good music, so it can reach the world. And also, what I'm gonna do here on the main chain, on the master chain, I'm gonna engage my SSL, my BX digital here, and get a little bit of width, rolling off a little bit low end and a low end on the stereo side. Get a little bit more space. Across the 70. I want a little bit more 300 here on the master chain on the entire mix, so I can have it, you know, at a more fatter, rounder body sound. And I'm topping it off. I'm gonna use the Dangerous Bax EQ here, which I'm boosting about 1.5 dB, about 74, which top off the whole entire mix. And I can compare it with Maroon 5. So let's go ahead and engage it. Oh, it's the healing. No one can find this feeling here. Now the world should know. Yes, the world should know. I said 1, 2, Rasta is passing through. I've shown you real reggae music. How we say? I said 1, 2, Rasta is passing through. Hey, I keep it cool, yeah. So I'm gonna stop there, guys. That's Mixing Reggae featuring Jah Cure. And this is the reason why I always use SSL channel strip. I'm in love with analog stuff, man. If I had the actual analog hardware, I'd use it more than the plugins. I'm not saying that you can't get a good sound with analog plugs as well, but also the hardware give you a different flavor as well, and it does more work for you other than using the plugins. So to recreate that, I had to use stuff like the virtual mix rack. I had to use the R bass, like a typical rack setup. So I want to pay keen attention to those. So, but I'm gonna stop there, guys, and I want you to support my page. Subscribe if you haven't already. To Pristine Productions here. I'm at 72 subscribers. Help me to climb that number up to 100. I'm going to be naming the winner. So far, I have a couple of people submitting the songs. So when you hit 100, you can get that Slate Digital. And check out my rhythms for say. I have dancehall, I have hip hop, I have trap, I have soca. I have Afrobeat, a whole lot of stuff, and I have mixing tutorial featuring a lot of artists like Beyonce and those stuff, the actual files. So I'll catch you on the next one, guys.